Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, here, folks. This is my always George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Well, folks, can you believe it? We have about maybe a few more days. Actually, yeah, a few more days. It's another week till another week till Thanksgiving. Can you believe it? It's just around the corner. I mean, it's crazy. Time is flying by. It seems like we just started 2025 and now we're halfway through the year. So anyway, folks, also we had some couple of shows over the weekend. Two of these shows were both pro qualifiers for the women's division, also for the figure division, and also they were both also Olympia qualification too for 2026, a master Olympic qualification. And I want to give a shout out to some of the competitors, if you know, like if it's cool with you. The first lady I want to shout out is one Miss Autumn Swanson. Miss Swanson has been in the game for quite some time, and she won for women's physique. Plus, she won for women's 40 plus in at the Olympic the show in Fort Lauderdale, which is the Atlantic Coast. Congratulations to her. And one other lady, if I could pull her up, her name is Nana Silva, and Nana she won at the show in Brazil that was on Saturday in women's physique. Impressive lady. I mean, she also the winner of men's classic. I don't know the guy's name. I don't pay attention to guys like this, but I found this nice picture. She has a great physique, a great look to her. She won the show last year. She's also Master Olympia qualified. It's pretty good. I mean, the show has also been promoted by Natalia Cuejo, and she was there that weekend, so she couldn't do the the Atlantic Coast show, so it kept her busy. So that gave all the opportunity. I was trying to find some pictures here and there, but it's hard to find because as long as she wasn't there, in attention. And also quite a great lady who I didn't interview, Miss Florence Hunt. She won for women's 40 class, which gets us qualified 2027 Masters O, and who won the figure is Jessica Reyes Padilla. So I'm not going to go in details on her. So forget it. So anyway, folks, as you know, I am a particular type of criminal. I have a particular type of necessarily. When I see things and I hear things, and I say I like to be advocate for not just women in bodybuilding, but maybe for people who are in the sport of bodybuilding, who are up and comers, who are in the sport. But again, you have to fight for it. It shouldn't be me. It shouldn't be me. I'm just a guy out here. I'm just as I often say, I'm a muscle person smoke. It's like buff chicks. But I do it because I see so much is going on. People tell me stuff here and there, and the stories I hear about the sport and the frustration. But again, it's up to you as competitors to make those changes. So like, there should be a demand, a push, a revolution in the sport of bodybuilding. I don't know that. I mean, it's up to these competitors. Here, I got here my man. Here's my big brother here, my man, Mr. Big Keith William. I be pro. The goatee. He looks like a super villain. You see, like,
You're funny.
I got to clown him. He's my brother. That's how it is. He clowns me. I clown him. So, I hope we also, I sent some invites to my other guests. So if any of y'all interested, the link is in the comment section. You want to pop in, and we want to get your feedback. So, folks, we're going to talk about things that's going on in the sport, like what needs to be changed. I know sometimes we go around this, but sometimes it seems like every year, nothing really happens. And the thing is, it's up to these athletes who want these changes and demand it for themselves. You're the ones who put in the time. You put in the money. You put in your bodies. I mean, you put in so much. But again, what do you get in return out of it?
It's like we talked about before, George. There's this sport, as far as the topic of your conversation, revolutionizing sport. It's never going to be revolutionized because the people who are supposed to be revolutionizing the sport. It's a prime example of Dan Solomon yesterday. The thing that you sent me about this new movie coming out, the 60th anniversary of the Olympia and all this other stuff, right? So okay. So Rashid, if you're listening, you have a very good point to what you're saying. So you're going to promote the 60th anniversary of the Olympia. You obviously have got to deal with Prime to air this show. The same thing, Generation Iron did the same thing when we did Generation Iron, the very first Generation Iron. Canberra Cruise Productions. Okay, so you can do that. But if you can do that as far as the 60th anniversary of the Olympia, which probably goes back to the tells the time from when the Olympia started to where it's now, and do a documentary on that. Why can't the IFBB do that more so with today's era in which athletes are competing with Prime and things like that? Because that's what you guys all been talking about, is like getting in bed with these other streaming companies and all this other stuff. You know, the NFL did it with YouTube and Prime and all this other stuff. So I just don't understand why it takes for you to get to the 60th anniversary for the Olympia for this just now to become in fruition. That's what I'm confused about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't understand it either myself, because the big question for me is, will bodybuilding play a part of this? Because you do have the Mr. Olympias first. It started it all. Women's bodybuilding is part of it. It can evolve, and from that, other divisions grow for it. So if this is about the 60th anniversary of the Olympia, are you going to include all the other divisions as part of the sport? We have guests. We got your guest here, my man. Shout out to my man Jeremy from the Art of Female Muscle. Drop it in. Welcome, brother. Thank you for coming through.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, Jeremy? How are you, bro?
Dealing.
Yeah. It's another, you know how it is, brother. It's just those things, And one more day, I'm going to my 51st birthday is just around the corner.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm an old man. Got my glasses on. So anyway, but you're going to say.
But Jeremy would probably agree with me. I don't know if you've seen the whole announcement that Dan Solomon put on saying, this new thing, the 60th anniversary thing with Olympia, and now they're doing the deal with Prime to air it and all this other stuff. Why does it take to you to get to the 60th anniversary to finally figure out, okay, how are we going to get this thing seen, for one? And so clearly you came up with the partnership with Prime, which should have happened a long time ago, because Prime is in bed with everybody, to publicize the sport. I'm just really confused of, why is it taking so long? You did it with Generation Iron, because I was in that one. Arnold had already did Pumping Iron. They did the Weeder movie, which, I don't know how much success that is. And then the one black guy who played, so clearly there's content to be seen and heard about the sport. But like we've had in the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about this, there's been no publication or publicity to push the sport as a whole. And we're not talking about men's bodybuilding, we're talking about as a whole, because there's so many different categories that why is it taking so long to get here?
Yeah, good question. Because at one time it was being promoted. One time, back in the 80s.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to the women's side of it. It was being promoted, and it was being pushed on ESPN. It was being pushed on regular broadcast TV. It then went by the wayside, and my humble opinion, it's that word steroids. Couple that with the misinformation from mainstream media, to the point where anybody who even thinks of the word bodybuilding, that's the first word they think of: steroids. They don't think of discipline. They don't think of hard work. They don't think of anything else. And if steroids has a bad rap, then bodybuilding is going to have a bad rap as well. So one of the big hurdles is trying to re-educate the public and talking, because that's what they think of when they hear the word bodybuilding. And because steroids have such a negative connotation, you've got this uphill battle that you have to wage first in order to be able to get it. Because back during the 80s, this is before Ben Johnson, this is before him blowing away the field in the 100-meter dash. I think it was in Seoul, Korea.
Yep.
In the Olympics. And then 2 years, and then that was when people in America heard about this word steroids, and it was like, what is this? And then it culminated with the 1990 Anabolic Steroids Control Act, which made it a controlled substance.
Yep.
So, that's what I think. In order for this to be approach something, and like you said, not just with the women, but in general, That's the thing you've got to deal with, is you have to deal with the subject of steroids. Now, you had cases like the movie Bigger, Stronger, Faster, which I thought
Was great.
I thought did a good job. I
Chris
thought it was
Bell.
like, yeah, you heard the other side.
Yep.
You heard the one that you don't hear from anybody else. And so
And
I
that's
think
that's the educational side. I know Chris and I know Mark. They train my brother Stan, and me and Chris had a deep conversation about this at Golds when I used to train out there all the time. And it was to watch it. It was so educational. Like, why are they giving babies with dwarfism? Why are they giving AIDS patients? Why are they, why as men today we can go out and get TRT, because my testosterone levels are low, my energy levels are low. It's like menopause for women. It's the same thing. But again, it's not that it's banned. You can go to a doctor and get it. All you got to do is get a test if testosterone levels are low. I know a lot of guys that go to doctors who overcharge them for PEDs to get their testosterone levels back up. But you're right, Chris. The stigma that they have on this particular topic is so misinformed.
sure.
And so that's the problem where, the funny thing is I listen to Dorian Yates a lot. I listen to Lee Haney a lot, two old heads. And it's very enlightening on how they're talking about the foods. Like, you got all these people using this and using that who don't even bodybuild, who just use, Chris Bumstead, there's more guys in the gym using more shit than I do, and I'm a professional. So when you get guys like that, and that's where the problem comes in, where you get to get to a mainstream audience to educate them, you need guys like Dorian. You need guys like Lee Haney. You need the old school guys to be like, you know what? The fallacy of Chris Bell, who did Bigger Strong, that'd be the perfect person. The fallacy of what you think about this is not what is really going on. Now, is it really going on? Yes. As an athlete, like they said, if you told an Olympic athlete, if he took a shot of this and was going to win a gold medal, would he do it? Absolutely. And that's a track athlete or just Olympic athlete in general. It's not a bodybuilder, but again, let's think about this. When baseball is climbing back up, I think we talked about this last time I was on here, it's climbing back up to where it used to be. But when Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa was bombing, hitting all those fucking home runs, baseball was at an all-time high, right? And then the steroid thing came out. The steroid king came out. And no offense and all, I think that those guys were doing it for the standpoint of longevity and recovery, because baseball season is a long season to go through. And not every person that uses a PED like those guys can hit home runs. I know I couldn't. But because of the stigma in which it created, they were cheating.
Right, exactly.
And the thing is,
but guess what? The MLB wasn't complaining because the views at the time were at the highest it had ever been.
And the thing is, I say this: these are millionaires. If they want to use something to help them, they can afford to do it. The rest of us, it's going to cost them money. I know it's funny when the government gets involved in it. This is not nothing. I understand you want to protect whatever ideology you thought of the sport. Almost everybody used something. Like you talk about a controversy, we had the pine tar on a baseball bat, or pitchers who sometimes put grease on a baseball to make it go faster. It's always a little hitch. So what we'll do, I'm going to pull up that video with Dan Solomon, and he talks about this upcoming event. And it's interesting. My thing is, I hope that they do add some of the competitors, especially in the women's body division and also the physique division. Those women need to be recognized because they put their time in the work there. So here it is.
Is an incredibly exciting day for all of us. I'm sure by now many of you guys have seen the trailer for the film Dream Big, the Olympia movie, which chronicles the path towards the 60th Olympia. The film takes you behind the scenes as to what goes on during the production of that scale. But even more importantly than that, it shines a spotlight on the impact the bodybuilding movement is having around the world, the fitness lifestyle, the Olympia, and the way it has infiltrated so many cultures. When we wrapped up production of the film, we presented it to major film distributors around the world to see who was going to help us bring this story to the largest possible audience. And I'm here today to extend a word of gratitude to everyone over at Amazon Prime Video, for agreeing to enthusiastically welcome us to their platform. And beginning December 9th, Dream Big will begin streaming on Amazon's Prime Video service. And we're so grateful to them for helping us make sure that the largest possible audience can experience what we all love, the sport of bodybuilding and fitness. Dream Big on Amazon Prime Video, December 9th.
So that's coming December 9th. The big question is it really going to help bring attention to bodybuilding? Also, will they have, again, as a fan of women's bodybuilding, will they have the women involved? Here's some comments here. I'm going to catch my comments here. We have our boy Alex. He's sitting in the comments because he can't make it today. He says, "Hey, George and everyone. What's up, Alex?" We have here Emmanuel. He says, hey to you, Emmanuel. Also, Alex will say, okay, he said this says, also shout out to Hunter Henderson. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. I think she's going to be 33 this year. I think she's up there. She's still young. Also, we have here from Alex says, what's up, Alex? He says, yo, Jeremy. And
hey,
he
Alex.
says, what's good? All right. And also, he says, that's from Josh Simpkins. He's out to Josh. And also, agree, Jeremy, that explains the decline and lack of respect for women's bodybuilding or bodybuilding in general. Yeah, because it's always going to get that finger pointed about use of steroids. And again, remember, not just Ben Johnson, the West German women's swim team. There was always that accusation that they were using.
Remember, Russia got banned this year from the Olympics. The whole country.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, again, it's not something like if you're Barry Bonds or Mark McGuire, you don't hit the bar harder because it takes eye-hand coordination to hit that ball.
Yeah.
Like your son plays baseball.
Yep.
And, and he knows that he has to. It's about timing. It's not about positioning when you hit that ball, or just at any athlete. But again, steroids' purpose of it is for longevity, also for recovery. I know I'm getting to the point in my age where I know I need to get my TRs checked because
Did you see the guy from the Denver Broncos who got suspended because his testosterone levels were too high, to only find out that he had testicular cancer? So he had surgery. He had found out he had surgery. Didn't play this last week. He should be back in the next couple of weeks. But when they did, they because they do random drug tests, they said but to only find out that wasn't because his testosterone level, and the only reason why they were high is because he had testicular cancer. So the NFL had to go back and recant because they suspended him. And he went in, he's like, I've never done steroids or anything, but they found out he had. I mean, and it's a plus and a minus, because if they wouldn't have tested him and suspended him, he would have never knew he had testicular cancer. But because they found out, because he was suspended and he wanted to go back to his doctor, they found out that he ended up having testicular cancer. Isn't that crazy? He's a starting linebacker for the Denver Broncos. Alex something, I can't remember his name. They were talking about it yesterday during the game. Yeah. So he suspended him, thinking that he was using substances, which he really wasn't. He just had testicular cancer, so his testosterone levels were super high. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Well, then I also hear about BMI. It's like people put so much faith, especially companies, put so much faith in BMI. But one thing that BMI doesn't do is it doesn't explain the ratio of fat to muscle in the body.
Well, and you're absolutely right.
There's this story that I heard about a weightlifter, not bodybuilder, but just guy who liked doing weightlifting, and so it's like and his company got after him. Basically, the same story that what you're telling is that he went after him, because he said, "Oh, well, your BMI is too high. You need to lose all this fat." He said, "You don't understand." He said, "I'm a weightlifter. That's all muscle that you're talking about." And they said, "Oh no, you've got to do it." He had to go to two doctors, one of them a surgeon, to explain to them, in order to be able to do what you're wanting me to do, I have to have highly expensive surgery to remove a considerable amount of muscle mass from my body. In order to be able to meet your BMI requirements. It's like there's so many things about this. Also, it's like the majority of anabolic steroid users aren't athletes.
No.
It's like 15%.
Yeah.
The overwhelming rest of them are your upper crust of society. Your doctors, your lawyers, your bankers, high-end investors. Those are overwhelmingly your steroid users. But how many people in society know that?
But and again, Jeremy is right, because here's the thing, what I said earlier. there's now an evolution of our world called menopause, and I've done the research on it, where just like women who go through menopause, there's men that go through menopause, because guess what? What is one of the number one leading things in the world that men are using? You got Big Herc and what's the football player who does the commercials? You know, if your testosterone levels are low and this, that, and other, you can get over the counter stuff versus, you know, injectable stuff. But again, that's why when you say doctors, lawyers, and this and that and other, these are just regular guys who understand something is wrong. So there's testosterone levels. As we get older, our testosterone levels drop. So they can go to a doctor, or they can go to GNC or a supplement store and get a testosterone booster. Titan Nutrition, while it's with, has something called testosterone booster, because it is a true thing. Men's testosterone levels drop. And so in order to have the energy, in order to have the sex drive without the Viagra and all the other bullshit, you have to do this stuff. You have to use this stuff. It's just not for bodybuilders. And that's what Jeremy is saying, is that that's the part that needs to be inserted. And again, the problem is, if you had Weider around, the guys who created this sport, I think they would have a better handle on how do we keep this mainstream while keeping all that bullshit out of it. And that's what they were doing. That's why in the 80s, you seen, like Jeremy said, you seen it on ESPN, you see it on this, because they're like, there's more to PEDs than what they want you to know. But guess what? The people who should be educating the world on these bodybuilders, yes, I'm not going to say that we don't use PEDs, because that would be bullshit. Yeah. But again, there's a lot of guys that I know who will use PEDs for, you know, the time that they prep. And I've known certain people, and I won't even drop their names, but after the show, they'll go off for 5 or 6 months, and then they'll go back on as they get ready for a show. So it's not a year-round thing. You know, it's not healthy to do it year-round. Some people, and I remember Dr. Priss came on here and says, you know, it's embarrassing for me as a doctor for bodybuilders not to be able to come in and be completely honest about what they're doing, because you're quick to judge. Yeah. So here's a prime example. I had a via tele appointment with my doctor last week, 2 weeks ago, Dr. Wyman. And I was like, look, before Chicago Pro, when I got sick and all this stuff, I said, this is what I was doing. Not one time did he judge me or say anything. He just listened. He's like, okay, thank you for being honest. And I respected him for not judging me for me being honest with him. Because that was the first time I was honest with any doctor besides my doctor who I deal with my stuff now. And prior, when I was getting ready for shows, but he was the first doctor not to judge me by what I was doing. And that's the problem in our society, is like bodybuilders, men, women, or whoever, cannot go to a doctor these days and just be honest with them, because they're so scared to be judged and be reprimanded for doing what they do. And if you listen to Chris Bell say it in Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and Jeremy will tell you, there's not many cases, and Flex even told me this when he went through his whole liver thing, and people were talking to him saying, PEDs are not the problem. It's the insulin, it's the diuretics that's the problem, it's not the PEDs.
Yeah, right. It's like on that movie Lyle Alzado, when everybody was saying that when he had his brain problems, it's like everybody was saying that, it was all because of steroids. Nope. It was all because of the PEDs. No. Even his own doctor, even his own brain surgeon said it was bullshit.
Yeah.
But no, everybody wants to point the finger at that. The other thing, though, is cultural acceptance of bodybuilding in general. See, people will listen to like steroids with Barry Bonds, like you were saying, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, etc. They will accept that in baseball. Why? Because baseball is culturally accepted.
Yep.
Bodybuilding will get the finger pointed at it, because it's not. But there'll be people who make exceptions all day long for football, baseball, and basketball. Well, because they're culturally accepted. Bodybuilding isn't. And that's another problem.
Well, here you go, gentlemen. Wait a minute, gentlemen. I do have a couple comments here. Right here, I have one from Aaron Woodward Experience on X. He says, hey, I'm in the backstage. Where you want to come on in? Eric, come on in. Also, we have here from Casey Calhoun, a young lady I had pleasure interviewing about a week ago. And she is a she just started competing. She says this is such a great topic. I thanks guys for discussing this. I just got a guest to pop in. My man here, Kale the Wanderer.
Hey,
He's
what's going
here.
on?
Yeah, and Kale had a nice little video he did, and I wasn't invited. Hey, I watched it, and brother, I get your point. I understand, but at the same time, you need to have a little bit more, uh, like one side, so just one sided view.
Well, we
But
could do
anyway,
a second part. We could do a second part. We could
uh,
do it this Sunday if you want. I don't care.
what I get this Sunday, I'll make sure I check because I know I'm doing
No,
my
like after 11, like
after 11,
that ain't
brother,
cool.
after brother,
Guys,
not,
guys, sorry, but I'm just sorry to just ask. What are you talking about?
well, you want me to pull it up for y'all guys? Because
Yeah,
I
go
No,
ahead.
really,
you can just tell
Look,
me. You can just tell me what it is. I'll go watch it
well, and
later.
it's
But what is it that you're talking about?
actually it's about where they have him and another guy named Royce. His name is Brandon. Brandon's an artist, and they talk about. You can explain a little more because that was his baby. You can
yeah,
explain it.
yeah, yeah. But we was basically talking about the extremeness of women's bodybuilding. I invited Brandon because he has more of an experience like interacting with them and stuff. We was talking about how the behaviors and how like Arnold, he doesn't really accept them or anything like that, like it shows. And even mainstream society, like they're like to the normal, to the average person, you know it's not appealing to to a lot of people. you know um yeah, we're just talking about the extremes of it.
Yeah.
you know
But the thing is, anything can be extreme, and it's up to the competitors if they want to. Like this is why I say about the revolution.
and
It's up.
forget, not sorry to cut you off. And he also was saying that there's like trend Autobots that that have competed, and and they don't really say anything. you
Well,
know
I know of one lady who's trans, but she competed. She's a female who competed in female bodybuilding, and
but
her
that's
and
what he's talking about.
but she was actually a female. She was living as a man. She never ever had gotten her plumbing changed. This lady just recently you talked about the one with the beard. She was told to shave her beard if she wanted to compete. Because one thing is, most definitely, if you know anything about the Manion, especially Jim Manion, he's not going to have it. There's like talk
It's just the
about,
same thing.
yeah,
It's the
I
same
know,
thing.
but
It ain't really,
if
it
it's
ain't
not,
no different.
it's not going to be,
It's
he's not going
still
to have,
it's still it's
he's
still
not
at
going
the
to have,
category.
but he's not going to have it in like
Yeah, I know, like,
yeah.
because and I told them that they're not gonna allow that to happen because the Orange Man, he prohibited that from happening. That was another topic.
Orange can't permit shit. He can't.
Well,
The law.
whatever the law, the
There's
law
no,
is
there's
the
no, there's
law.
no, there's no
Just
law. There's not.
listen. Just give me a
I'm hearing
chance.
you. I'm hearing you. I'm
They
hearing you.
they they not letting that happen. That's all I can say. They
But
not letting like Autobots, Decepticons
but here's
compete in like in sports. Period.
but
Because
but here's the
they
thing.
say
It's
that
too
that's a
late.
disadvantage.
It's too late. It's already the door's been open. It's too late. And plus, there's like discrimination laws that are being inactive. No matter how much he says, he still has to go by the courts and stuff like that. Even though some courts he might deny, but here's one thing about the Orange Man: he has lost more in court than he had wins. That's the problem. People don't look at that. They look at the little wins he has compared to the big ones he have lost. And again, we all know again, like I said, Jim Man's not going to allow it to a certain extent because there was that whole talk about was it about last year where we were about is it going to do men's wellness, but that was going to happen. There's a lot of people talking about here is it going to do men's wellness division? No, because one thing you're not going to see a lot of guys going to do it. It's popular in one country, it's not going to be popular here in the United States because what kind of ideology that America has. We have here. Shout out to my man Alex. He says, "Yo, KL." He says, "Yeah,
Hey,
thank
what's
you."
up?
Also, he says, it's even sadder that a few female bodybuilders like Teresa and Elizabeth did the Arnold pose, and he still disses them. Give me a break. As I say, it's double standard. And it's one thing we're also talking about how the judging is, like my man sent me a video, and I'm going to share with you. It's a video concerning a certain member of the NPC and IFB. He's the vice president of it all. He's the grandson of Jim Mannion, and the son of Jim Mannion. That is Tyler. And, Tyler, he's all over the place. He's talking, doing these things. He just did a show this weekend where he guest host, where he was one of the head judges. And I said like this, I don't know why this guy is so popular. He's just not even he's never competed. Here it is.
Pro League. There is no NPC, and you guys have the power. Don't forget that. Now, this situation isn't new. There is documented pattern of Tyler Mannion being romantically involved, allegedly, with athletes inside the NPC IFBB system. In fact, according to multiple public articles, including a detailed 2013 report on Muscle Week, Tyler Mannion was previously in a relationship with IFBB and former Bikini Olympia champion Nicole Nagarni. Barbara Caesar, IFBB wellness competitor, who's also a bombshell athlete, and the bombshell organization is deeply entwined with the NPC and the IFBB. Well, holy shit, if this isn't a conflict of interest, I don't know what the fuck is. But this is just plainly out in the open. Like, it's A-okay to do this shit. Guys, this is fucked up. This is disgusting. This is wrong. Stuff like this shouldn't be happening. Why is no one talking about this? Why is he so this flagrantly posting this? Because he knows no one's going to do anything. No one's going to stand up to him. Well, I am. I'm making this public more so than it already is. This sport is supposed to evolve and adapt with the times. It's supposed to get better. We're not supposed to have situations where the vice president of the Pro League is allegedly in a romantic situation with an IFB Pro Olympian. And it's allegedly not the first time. There's an ongoing pattern of this. Should Tyler Mannion have to step down as the IFBB Pro vice president due to his conduct that is on full display between allegedly what's going on between himself and Barbara Caesar, IFBB Pro wellness competitor? This is the big.
This is from Muscle Discord. You can check out his site right here. He does a lot of stuff. My man Keith. He's also the one who announced when we found out that the Masters Olympians did not get their prize money. People who
some of them still haven't gotten paid.
Yeah, Tiana Flex is one of those ladies. Nana Silva, who just won this weekend. Even just Corey Padilla, some of the guys who won in the men's division. Here also we have here a little from.
Now he's trying to say that Tyler Mannion is like corrupt. He shouldn't be judging. He shouldn't be dating people who are in the industry. It's not appropriate. But the thing that he's doing is that he's just this girl that Tyler's dating, I guess, used to compete. She hasn't competed for like over 2 years from what I gather. And he's like this. He's 31 years old. What is he not supposed to? He's not supposed to have any relationships with anyone. The guy can't go on a date. It's unbelievable what the scrutiny. Who does this guy Matt think he is?
You can only date.
He's like the moral police of the world. Is now he's trying to.
Well, that's the thing is, I remember I heard this a long time ago. I actually heard it in a TV show, The Sopranos, and Tony Soprano said like this: "I don't shit where I eat at." That's you don't, because you never know where, even though she had competed 2 years, doesn't mean that she won't want to go back and compete. She can take that, a lot of competitors took 2 or 3 years off to rest, to recover, maybe to stack their chips a little bit because it's expensive to be a bodybuilder. And maybe she might want to go back. Well, here's the thing is, your boyfriend is one of the judges. He's the head of the NPC. He's a vice president. And probably in the future, Jim's not gonna live forever. He's not immortal unless he's a vampire or a Highlander. You can cut off his head and take his power. He's going to eventually step down. And JM, he's more about photography because the whole situation he got in a while back when he was busted with these girls and whatever else and what he was doing. That's why his grandson, Jim Mannion, the son and grandson, is getting the push. And again, this person, he's never competed. He never had, other than working in the sport. That's one thing. My man, he judges, and he has judges at shows.
Here's the thing. The problem with it is that you're right. You shouldn't shit where you sleep. Again, everybody acts like, I like this muscle core guy. He's really, keeps it 100. for the most part. Some of the subjects are kind of, whatever. But here's the problem. This shit ain't just started like now, like 2 years ago. This shit's been going on forever. Lee Thompson put everybody on blast a long time ago, about this shit. Jack Tatone and Ann Tatone and sending other judges naked pictures of his wife and when she was competing in Olympia. And we know how long ago that was. So this ain't nothing new. Tyler wasn't even around then when all that shit was going on, because Jim was still, because I remember all the USAs and national shows I did, Jim was the man, and Lee Thompson was sitting right next to the man. When I lost to Steve Klucos at USAs, guess who was sitting right next to Jim Mannion? Lee Thompson was sitting next to Ryan Mannion. When Steve beat me, I tell you, I tell you guys, when I walked on stage and I looked down at the judges table and I see Lee Thompson sitting next to Jim Mannion, I knew I was coming in second. I knew I was going to win USAs that year, because this sport that we're in is such a political arena that this shit is not just, I'm glad he's speaking on it, because a lot of people, and what he's saying is right. A lot of people are scared to speak up because they don't want to be blackballed. They don't want to get on, he's this guy who's a muscle cord. He's clearly retired, but a lot of people just don't want to be blackballed. They don't want to say certain things about certain people, because then, I'm sure that's why we've had the discussion why certain girls don't come on your show, because they don't want to be, instead of saying I'm being constructive and give constructive criticism, they don't want to be looked at as being negative. And I get it. But at the exact same time, nothing changes in the world without it being brought up. The government shut down until they finally came to a compromise to make something work. And so is the ground still level between the Democrats and the Republic? No. But eventually, like I tell people in relationships, you got to come to trust and love and all the other shit. If you don't have compromise in a relationship, you don't have shit. And that's the problem in this sport, where there's no compromise. You got Tyler, Steve, and Jim in charge of everything. And there's no accountability for these guys to be Roger Goodell is held accountable by who? The 32 teams that vote him in and to pay him his salary every year as a commissioner. Same in the NBA, same in the MLB. But again, there's no accountability. There's no accountability for these guys because they control everything. So they're paying themselves. So that's the problem. All these other sports that you see that are skyrocketing and doing well, there's accountability to be held by the owners. The problem is, like he said, it's like Fuad, and me and George were talking about this earlier. Fuad went on, Michael Fitzgerald, whatever his name is, from Europe, won the Prague show. Gilles Tigers, what they call him, he's a promoter and he's a commentator, got punched in the face by this guy, sounds like, before critiquing his body. Fuad goes on the show and says, well, come on, guys. We're just bodybuilders. We're not professional. Get the fuck out of here. How do you sit there and say that? The IFBB is a professional league. The NPC is an amateur. Now, if you said, oh, he's an NPC amateur bodybuilder, but the IFBB is the International Federation of Pro Bodybuilding. And you want to sit here, Fuad, and sit there and say, oh, we're just bodybuilders. So basically, you're creating that stigma that's already out there that we're just meatheads. Oh, he's just a meathead. If you can't take constructive criticism, and I don't give a shit, I tell my kids, my daughter's 5th and 6th grade basketball team, if you're not coachable and you can't take constructive criticism, then you shouldn't be playing any kind of sports whatsoever. I don't care if it's bodybuilding, basketball, soccer, lacrosse, you shouldn't be playing any kind of sports. But yet, a guy who is respecting this industry, you punch him in the face because he's giving his feedback on, you know how many times I went to punch John Ray in the face for saying shit about me? A lot of times. But again, at the end of the day, all it made me do was go to the gym and work harder. And Rashawn is a fucking asshole. But I respect him because he's a legend. And he's a Hall of Famer. Flex is a Hall of Famer. Dorian is a Hall of Famer. Any of these guys who come up and give you their opinion on what you should be doing different, you should take that shit in and listen to it. But again, we got this era of bodybuilders these days who can't take constructive criticism and
Yeah. What are you about to say, Jeremy?
because they're just fucking.
Yeah.
Well,
What
yeah,
about to say, Jeremy?
it's like when you were talking about politics. Here's my question: was Tyler elected or appointed?
Appointed.
And they were right there as far as the problem.
Well,
I mean,
your
who
grandfather.
and that, well, that's the point. Look up the word nepotism.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is you're appointing family members to top positions. What exactly qualifies Tyler to be in the position that he's in?
Here's
Other than his name recognition.
Here's the thing.
I never heard of the guy before. I
Here's
have no idea what his qualifications are, other than his relation to Jim.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you guys what I know. When I was an amateur, his dad was, who was still the photographer, doing all the shows. Jim was the man. And again, I came into this sport blind, not really knowing what I was getting into. Tyler, at the time when I was competing as an amateur, was a wrestler at Maryland. A very good wrestler, I'll mind you, at that. Was a very good wrestler at Maryland. Because me and his dad would talk about him. How's your son doing? He's doing good, this, that, and other. I think his daughter, the daughter was a phenomenal soccer player. And I don't know if she's still playing. So they were both athletes. And then all of a sudden, he becomes the vice president and I'm like, again, what's your, I know as me as a judge, I had to test judge so many shows before I became a judge at the regional level. This guy just became a judge at the top level right away. And I don't know because if his grandfather was grooming him and this, that, and other. But again, is that how it works? I mean, I look at it as just keeping it in the family, which is a smart thing to do. LeBron James' son probably wouldn't have got drafted where he did if his dad wasn't LeBron James. So yeah. I guess if you can use your power, that's what you do. And that's what some people are doing. There was a lot of guys that should have been talked about before LeBron James' son got drafted, but they weren't because LeBron James is LeBron James. And because he has that kind of power, now it backfired on Deion Sanders with his son Shador, but it worked for LeBron James, because LeBron James is in the now. But again, when we're talking about Tyler, he was anointed by his grandfather, and this is facts, because I had never seen Tyler. I've seen Jim, I've seen Steve, I've seen Sandy, I've seen a lot of judges come and go as an amateur and as a pro, but I've never seen, and all of a sudden, bam, Tyler pops on the scene. But I think it's one of those things like the mob. We're going to keep it in the family. We're not going to let it outside the family because here's the thing. If it was that, and I don't know if they call themselves co-vice presidents or whatever the case may be because we know Jim's the man, but you would think the next person in line to have that title will be Steve, right? Steve's been around forever. Steve's been judging me forever. Steve was I would say when I was an amateur, he was probably the most intimidating person I knew because he didn't speak. If he looked at you and then he knew your name, and I remember the first time he was like, "Good job, Keith," and I was like, "Oh my God, this guy knows who I am." I'm finally on the map because it takes the recognition from those powers that be, like Gary Udick, who's also should be in the mix as well. Gary, Steve, Tyler should be like the third person on the totem pole to me, but he's the man in charge.
He should be fourth if you throw in Tim Gardner, and also you throw in Sandy. He should be below that. He should be not even in the top 5. If you think about again,
but they keep it in the family. So you're right, Jeremy. It's like, how did he get there? Grandpa.
Right. And the problem is that it's
qualified? I don't know.
Right. And that's one of the problems is that where is the power given to the athletes to choose who the leaders are going to be?
Again, where is
that?
If you really here's the thing. Like, there's guys that retire from the NFL who go to the NFL and become representative for the NFLPA, and so they understand, and that's when we talk about the Dorians, the Lee Haney's, the Flex, the Sean Rays, the Kevins, the guys that are still in the sport. It's like you should be reaching out to those guys, Jim. You should be reaching out to those guys, Steve, and be like, your era was the best bodybuilding era ever. So how do we get that era back to where it was? But they don't do that. And that's where I'm confused. The 90s, the golden era of bodybuilding was the 90s when we had the Dorians, the Kevins, the Nassau Center Bodies, all these guys, they had to wear suits on stage when they did their press conferences and all this other stuff. Those are the guys that you should be going to when you say revolutionizing the sport. You need to go back to the old heads and be like, okay, where did we go wrong and how do we make it better? And I guarantee you, if you went to, because that's why Lee Haney was trying to start this other federation, because I'm sure he wasn't agreeing with what they've been trying to do, and so he was trying to create this new federation. That's what the Betty's and the Betty, what's her name, was also trying to do as well, because they just weren't seeing the vision of where, when they were in the sport, how it was at this all-time high. And I'm not trying to say it's not at an all-time high, because I don't know statistically what the numbers are, but the era of that era and this era, and even Jeremy said the 80s and 90s, was a much better era than we're in right now as far as the popularity of the sport. And like Dan Solomon says, it's more international now than it's ever been. So it's more international, but again, it's still a niche thing.
Yeah, because this weekend is going to be a show. It's going to be a Masters show in Portugal. They had a show this summer. Just had the Romanian Muscle Fest show in Germany. This is James's show now, the European Championship. It's, and I do have an issue with Steve Weinberger, and this goes with this. And this is for the Female Bodybuilding channel. They posted on there where women's bodybuilding is gone from the New York Pro for 2026. You see, you look closely. Yeah, they have men's open, 212, classic, men's physique, women's physique, figure, wellness, and bikini and fit model. But now women's bodybuilding gets kicked out. It wasn't that long ago that it was kicked out of the New York Pro, and even women's physique was kicked out, and they brought them back. But the thing is, it goes back to the numbers thing. If enough competitors want it. And the thing is, this is why I say about the competitors, if y'all start complaining why you don't have this, how, or that, then the problem is with you. Form a union. But the thing is, no one's going to do it. Like, I do content, not as much as I used to, but shout out to my man, the coach. We did a little thing together the other night where he talked about fighters and like that. He also told like this, like, one thing that the UFC and some of these other organizations do is, like, instead of hiring these people who judge it, and some of these come from boxing background, from judging. Boxing is different from mixed martial arts. Bring in referees and ex-fighters. That's the same thing like yourself, Keith, you are a bodybuilder, you are a coach and a trainer. I think you're going to use judges, use those that, you have judges that have been competitors, who have been coaches, but why are you bringing in this kid, as I said like this, he's a kid. I know he's 31, but you're still a kid. You just, this is how my mindset is. I saw him when I was in Tampa. He was there, judging there. To my mindset is like you're like wet behind the ears. Your breath smell like Similac. You barely get off your mama's titty, and you still get, you can still smell the breast milk on your tongue.
Here's my question: why don't they have some of these former pros, like the guys I mentioned, ever judge shows, who actually know what the fuck they're looking at and actually know what they're doing? I mean, I just don't understand why you can be like, hey, our guest judge, and they don't have to be a head judge, but our guest judges, I mean, I know some of these guys are well, at Jack Tatone show, he has a bunch of IFBB pros that judge his show, but why are like a lot of these Tampa pros, you see them sitting in the audience watching the show, but why are some of these former pros, like, like a Victor Martinez, like a Kevin LeBron, like a Flex Wheeler, like a Lee, like a Jordan. Hey, we would like to sit here and see you guys sit here and judge a show and see where the cards fall for what you guys' standard is versus what the standard is that's going on right now. And I guarantee you it would be completely different. Because if you listen to these guys talk after these shows, it's their opinions about what's going on. It's like, I think the last thing I was watching is like, they don't think that the bodybuilders of this era practice posing enough. And that's why the posing sucks on just the whole spectrum of men's and women's bodybuilding. They just don't practice enough. So they're like, I mean, it was when you watched in the 90s and the 80s, and it was an art form, men and women. Like looking at Linda, looking at Kim, looking at even I mean, it was like watching beautiful art being drawn, and you don't see that these days. And part of the problem is because they don't take it. I tell people, what I tell my clients, the hardest part of what I do as a competitor is posing. It's hard as fuck. I can go to the gym and train all day. I can eat all the foods, but if I can't go on stage and present and show it well, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and I practice a lot, then it doesn't mean nothing. But those guys, those guys and girls would go in and practice that shit. But again, they took away and I think part of the problem is they took away the judging as far as the posing out. And so they're like, well, it's not important because it's not going to count towards shit. So why should I care about that?
Right. The night show is largely for entertainment purposes.
Exactly.
I mean, the show is decided in the prejudging round.
Well,
as to who's actually going to win the thing.
Well, the only difference I would say there, Jeremy, is like we get rejudged at night. We get rejudged at night. But really they're only rejudging the top 5.
Right. I mean, and then it's like also getting back to the art form. It's like for time's sake, they got shows where only the top 5 were allowed to do their posing routine in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you have other guys who've been practicing over and over and over again. They never even get the opportunity to showcase their physique as the art form because they're not even allowed to do the posing routine for time's sake. Because you have so many divisions now that you have to have that people are having at shows. You flat out don't have the time to do it. Back in the 80s, when it was just women's bodybuilding, you had posing routines that went on 5 minutes. And especially some of and they were entertaining, and people liked it and got everybody interested. Now it's like you're cut down to like 2 minutes, and it's like in some cases you get really nice routines. Other times it's just like they're going through the motions.
Yeah,
like
one example. One person's example of that is Sarah Vilgas. She kind of runs the same kind of posing. It's nothing new. She doesn't anything spectacular. Some posers, I remember one time I was watching one lady. She said that she told me like during her routine they cut her song midway through. I mean, or even like the New York Pro, they wouldn't even have ladies do the final pose down. And a lot of shows, they every so often do the final pose down. I know I saw the Vancouver Pro. You only had 4 ladies. They still did the final pose down. And that's the entertaining part, especially if you're a fan. You love to see the final pose down of the men and the women because you want to see them.
And the sad thing is, George, the sad thing about this is if you ever watched a bikini or now this wellness bullshit, that they have out there, they get more time on the stage than the bodybuilder. They walk slower. They got to walk from one side, walk down the middle, they get more time than the bodybuilder. It's crazy. I'm a judge. I know. I'm like, it's like watching fucking paint dry. Seriously. They get more time than a bodybuilder. Seriously. How does that work? We get a minute and a half, 2 minutes to get all our mandatories in, which is front double bicep, front lat spread, side chest, side tricep, back double bicep, back lat spread, front abdominal, and the most muscular. That's the lines of poses. Here's the thing. In wellness and bikini, you have a front and a back pose. That's what you got. It's a tits and ass show, basically. So, but they get more time than us. How does that work? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Here we got a comment. Shout out to our man, Josh Simpkins. He's been sticking in. It says, "I totally agree with Keith. They should have former pros judge the shows. And that's fair. We have here as a guest, and guys, I know I'm tired. Look at y'all, your hard legs. But we have here is a lovely lady. She is brand new, and I mean new. IFB Pro, the lovely Miss Abby Lopez. We have a lady, guys. We got a lady. Lady, we got a lady. So Abby, also she's friends with my girlfriend. So that's why I like Abby. She's friends with my girlfriend.
Here you go.
That's the guy I like. Hey, Abby, that's the guy that has hair my girl. That's the guy that has hair my girl. Right there. He's my brother. I love him. But you understand, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I gotta let that go. I try. I know I promised my big brother I let it go, but every now and then it pops up. He seen me that picture one time.
Oh,
But
Lord.
Abby, so Abby, what's your thoughts, especially as a competitor? What you've seen, like in judging, and how you feel like there should be more push for better standards for bodybuilding as a whole.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, you know how the judging goes, how competitors are they're like, we did it, remember the other time we had to talk about how competitors act and behave. You know, what's your thoughts?
I don't know. I definitely, are you talking about like criteria wise?
You got criteria, everything what you feel like as a competitor, what you see they need to improve on.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely think there needs to be a standard. I think that sometimes the judging, they're judging for size, and then sometimes they're judging for conditioning, and then sometimes they're judging for both. And so you're kind of blind as a competitor going into these competitions. You don't know, do I come in more conditioned, or do I come in a little less conditioned with the size. That part is very challenging for sure.
Yeah, that's that part because you know what? It's depending on what judges you're facing. If you're either in front of Sandy or you're in front of Tyler or in front of whoever is the top judge of that show. And again, it's up to you athletes. You should demand more for yourself. But I know some are quite afraid that want to you rock the boat. We have as a guest is someone new. His name is Australia. Welcome, Australia. Thank you for your time. I don't know who he is, so I'm just gonna. Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. He's popping. Some people just got nothing else to do in their life.
uh,
Yeah, but that's the thing about this sport, and we have gone over it quite a few times. We know next year is going to be the new point system, and it's more like it's going to affect certain divisions that they're trying to cut down the numbers from. When we look at I think men's classic, men's men's physique, figure, not figure, wellness, men's classic, men's physique, wellness, bikini. That's what it's directed to because they say like this: if you do a top tier show like New York Pro or the Auto Classic, you get to go to the Olympia automatically, but then you have to do at least 3 shows if they're like second tier to get to the Olympia. Yeah. We have here is my my little brother, my little nephew. I call him my man Alice has came through.
Hi
And also
guys.
we got a hey Alex.
hey,
Also we have a
Alex.
comment. Also a comment from DJ J. He says, "What's up, hey?" And also this is from DJ J. Says this. He says, "Will it be able to join you another time?" Yeah, whether you feel like you got to join time. But thing is, we think a union. I'm gonna ask the 2 professional bodybuilders. Would you think a union would help make changes?
Absolutely.
Maybe. Yeah.
As a
Well, we'll go
pro
ladies
football.
first. Let's go ladies
Oh,
first.
sorry.
Let's go ladies first, Keith. Let's go ladies first.
Yeah, I think definitely it would help because I think the
Yeah,
standards would be the same, across the board. And I think for sure, yeah.
Keith?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's like, every professional sport, me playing the NFL, me even when I played arena football and I think I played in Iowa where Kurt Warner came from, and then we moved to New York where New York Dragons, they started the union there. What they didn't have one at first, but then it protected the players. And the owners didn't like it because then the players were protected. Then we had a union. We paid our union dues. It's a coalition. And then we were protected. Our money was protected. Our health was protected. Everything was protected. And so when you have that, then you feel like you have a say. It's like my son's agent, my son who just left Hawaii, went to Virginia, and his agent said, "Let me be the bad guy." when you start something like this, a union or a coalition or whatever we call unions these days, the people who are representing the athletes, which is lawyers and agents and this, that, and other, are there to protect the athletes. They don't give a shit about the IFBB. You do this so that you're protected as an athlete. That's why I'm still getting a pension. That's why things happen like that happen. But when you have these owners taking advantage of athletes because athletes don't know what to do, that's what happens. And that's what needs to happen, because we're not protected by anybody. We're not protected. The IFBB is not protecting the athletes. The IFBB is not protecting the NPC. We're paying into this shit. We're paying a lot of money. You're paying for IFBB pro cards. You're paying for travel. You're paying for hotels. You're paying for all this other stuff. And I'll tell you one thing. When I was introduced to this union by the AFL, the Arena Football League, it completely changed the dynamics and the money and everything for the athletes. And they loved it because the standards had to be raised by the owners who were making all this money off the athletes. Now, think about this. As athletes, we're not making money from the IFBB if you're not placed in the top 5.
Right, exactly.
So, again, to have something like that is saying, okay, I think Chris Mims had brought up, and I think I brought this up a long time ago, he had even a vision of like, okay, athlete goes to a show, signs a contract going to the show. When you go to buy your ticket to go to the show, if you sit here and say, who are you going to see? You're going to see Abby. You're going to see, okay, then you're going to get a percentage of those ticket sales. You know,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
you're not making money outside of that. If you're not placed in the top 5, you ain't making money. You're shelling, and it'd be interesting to do the analytics on this to say how much money as an athlete. I know how much money I spend. I don't know how much money Abby spent.
A ton, way too much.
And I'm sure I wear just a pair of trunks, But again, you guys wear suits and all the stuff that says analytically wise, how much money did it take for you to turn pro, and how much money have you spent from the time you start competing to now? How much money have you spent to get to where you are now, and how much money have you made? And it's not very much for a lot of athletes.
Yeah,
right.
no.
And so, where is the base salary?
Exactly.
I don't know of any other professional league anywhere that doesn't at least pay a base salary for its competitors. In the profession,
what other league do you turn pro that you got to pay for a pro card?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like where's the base salary? With all the money these people are making, you should be at least getting some kind of stipend. You should be at least getting some kind of base salary. Maybe it might not be much. It's not going to be anything compared to the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, anything like that. But still, it's like, where's the base salary? You don't even get that.
And also, one thing is like you paying $250 a month, a year for that pro card. So where's that money going to? Is it not going to, like paying okay, when I worked at my job, when I used to work at my job, I had my Social Security, my this and that, and then I had other stuff like my health care, my 401k. So that was money that was laid to the side out of my check. So you're paying to compete. Where is that 250 going to? If it's not going to let's put in for a pension plan. So when you finally want to retire, and some companies do this, they put in also a part of the money into that plan so you can have something, because sometimes you may not work as long. And then we had situations like bodybuilders who get sick, die. Or one person who I'm gonna pull up her. She just made her appearance at a show a while back. That's Michaela Aycott. And Michaela was going through some stuff, medical stuff, and I share this picture here. And she looks like she's in good health now. It's not it's one thing to see these ladies when y'all ladies are closed up, but she looks like she's good in health. And
she's an animal. Have you ever seen her lift?
Yes, she posts that a lot.
Yeah, she's an animal.
Yeah,
she's awesome.
And think about Alex. Alex will say something. Get back to us. But yeah, that thing is, if you are an athlete, we have heard like my man Keith told me what Kai Green went through. The guy was homeless. He was like living out of his house with no lights and stuff like that.
Him in a homeless shelter.
Yeah. So where is those things that help? Like, okay, like, okay, if my light's about to go out, hey, let me dip into my 401k. I got a hardship loan. Like one time I was going to a trip with my family, and I said, I can't afford a trip. So well, we want you to come. So okay, let me go to my job. And somebody told me, say, well, you get your 401k. That's yours. Yeah, yeah. Well, just apply for a hardship loan. That's what I did. Apply for like about a few $1,000s, and then hey, I go on my trip with my family, enjoy a good time of it. And then what I do is just take the money out of my check extra to cover the cost. And when I quit my job, whatever was left from my 401k, they paid the rest of the hardship loan, and I got my money back. It was like a good chunk of change I got back because I worked that place for a long time. That's the thing is that when I hear these athletes complain, and like again, Abby, I love you ladies, but some of y'all, you act like a bunch of, to quote my old school wrestling I used to remember growing up listening to, he had a feud with Dusty Rhodes. His name is the redneck Captain Dick Murdoch. He said to Dusty Rhodes, he ain't nothing but a yellow-bellied, egg-sucking dog. And that's a problem with some of y'all ladies. You want this and that. But then, when I say, come on, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. A while back, I did a thing where I talk about, when you can't attest to this, where I talk about, let's push some of the most beautiful women like Andrea or Chelsea Dion or Sherry Piami. You had a discussion with one lady in the comment section.
Who, me?
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Remember?
No, I did. I lost you a little bit. You said
Well, remember when I did that thing about pushing, more attractive, sexually pleasing women, and you had a
right. Yeah,
discussion
yeah.
with I think it was Anastasia Ryder.
Yeah. She said something. She was like she disagreed, and I was just telling her it was just a topic. It's like, what's the big deal? Like, it's not in like
Well,
it's
then,
not out of disrespect. It's just a topic. You could talk about your point of view, and that's it. It's nothing big, but they was just attacking George, and I was like, okay, wow, really?
What do you
So.
mean
Yeah,
attacking
thank you,
George?
brother.
I mean, like when I say attacking, like giving like this heavy criticism, like it was various reasons. Like I can't really I can't really recall, but it seemed like a harsh criticism, if I could say that.
Yeah. But the thing is, I can take harsh criticism, but the problem is, some of these women and men can't. That's what like he said about the guy who slapped the dude. You can't take when somebody tell you something, and this is something. It's not being being evil or being cruel. It's just me pointing this out, where I say, okay, why not? Let's go ahead and like one thing is like if there's an issue, have select whoever you feel like you want to be representatives. Like you can select whoever, like maybe you want to select Derek Lungford, you want to select maybe Andrea or Sid Gillen or whoever you want to say. Like let's have these people sit and talk with the Manions or whoever who's ahead and say, hey, we having a problem here. For one thing, just did Olympia. Derek gets $600,000. Why? And Andre says, like, I'm the Mr. Olympia. Why? I'm not asking to get $600,000, but at least because now Jake has cut the prize money at the Rising Phoenix. It's now, and it's always been an Olympic qualification show, but now it's more open because he doesn't have the invitation. Somebody didn't
Yeah,
like that because that's what made jump on. What you
it's
about to say?
something that's coming to me like when you was talking about why female it could like what was that topic you was talking about, sex sales or something like that.
Yeah,
And
like
so
how
one of
Pantomime.
them, they
yeah.
had an issue about it, um could OnlyFans and all these other things, could it help female bodybuilders get that publicity? And so one of them was saying that no, I don't do that type of stuff. I'm not gonna, you know, entertain guys that masturbate over female bodybuilders and all this type of stuff. And it was a lot. It was various reasons why they didn't want to join the panel. And
The
I
thing
was
is,
Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem. If and I think what they misconstrue what George trying to say is in George and Jeremy, you correct me if I'm wrong as well. when you have these fans only in all these other places, like here's a prime example. They offered Tina $10,000. Fans, the muscle, her biceps or whatever, also all access bullshit, this, that, and other. And she's like, fuck no, I'm not doing that. So if you can offer her $10,000 to have all access for, I think it was like the week or two or whatever, why can't you go into a show and sponsor a show and put that money towards women's bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Instead of sitting there and saying, "Oh, her biceps will pay you $10,000 to have full access to whatever." I don't even know what the content was even about. I knew it was not good, and she knew it was not good, and she has a standard that she's like. And I'm sitting there like, well, if you got $10,000 to pay her, and you're paying all these other girls to go on your sites, why can't you take some of that? Because you know they're making money. Because if you can offer $10,000, that means you're making money. So why can't you go into a show to a promoter and says, well, hey, I want to put, let's say 5,000, let's say 6,000, let's 7,000, 8,000, or 10,000 for that matter, towards a show versus, and again, remember I told you guys when I did the Legion show last year, Chris Mims like, well, somebody wants to put up the money. Well, her biceps, guess what? Then these fans get to see these girls up close and personal versus a video. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get to see them. You get to interact with them. You get to go up. I don't know how many people when Tina did the Titan show and did these other shows where fans come up and Hunter was there and they get to take pictures with them and actually touch them, see them. You know, the physicality of looking at somebody, looking at Abby right now versus her being right there and be like, oh, I get to take a picture with this girl. I get to talk to her for a minute, this, that, and the other, versus looking at a goddamn video. I'll take that of the physicality over watching a video any day of the week. And that's what I think these girls are misconstruing what George is saying and that we're talking about is there are a lot of people out there, you know, who have money that can do this, that are in that industry, the fans only as well, that are in that industry that can pay the money to put towards these shows because, I mean, let's just be honest. These girls are making pennies on the dollar. You know, the girls like, oh, we're raising the money for the show that this happened in Vegas to $6,000. Well, the first place prize Ashley won $2,500, I think, $3,000 or $2,500, where she just paid $25,000 at the Olympia. So really, you're talking about pennies on the dollar when we're really talking about this situation, and it's not. And again, the reality of this matter is bringing the former pros, bringing the current pros, all to the table to have a discussion with Dan, Jim, Tyler, Steve, and whoever else is in control of these federations. They don't want to see that shit. Here's a prime example. I have a client that's getting ready for Master Nationals in Vegas this weekend. Margie, George, she's getting ready for the Master Nationals. Do you know what the entry fee is for one class? $395. And a $5 processing fee. So here's
that's
how
that's $4.
And that's one class. That's not any others.
So here's
they might have to enter.
So she looks at me and she's like, Keith, you know, and I won't get into it. She's like, Keith, you know, I got to pay for this class, this and another. You mind if I pay your fee later? And I'm like, I don't worry about money. That's fine, because if you sign up late, it's another $175 if you miss the entry deadline. So here's the funny thing. So I think because there's not very many competitors that are competing in this show, they have put on their IG that they have waived the late fee. So if you still want to get in the show, you can. Because I think people are like, $400 for one entry? For one entry to a master. So here's the thing. You pay $400 for entry, one entry. And if you do turn pro, you got to turn around and pay another $250. That's crazy. Tell me I'm not crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, here's though a tough question, and I've been wondering this myself because of a couple experiences that I've had. Here's the tough question. You were asking why her biceps wouldn't do something like sponsor a show rather than to offer $10,000 for all access stuff.
Yep.
What if the majority of the fan base of female muscle doesn't give a damn about the competitions? What if they don't care?
Yeah.
Because I had a guy at work. He was writing out a list of names: Nikki Chartrand, Janine Lenkowski, Andrea Shaw, Angela Yao. And it was like, I recognize all those names. It's like, so how long have you been a fan of female bodybuilding? He was totally shocked. because he didn't think there was anybody else that he knew of that was going to offend. I said, so who do you think is going to win the Olympia? He looked at me weird and said, what's the Olympia?
Wow.
He had absolutely no idea. He was
Wow.
the only reason he was interested in it was because of her biceps, and was because of OnlyFans. That's the only interest that he had in it. So here is the really tough question. What if the majority of the fans of female muscle really don't, the reason why it's struggling, they don't give a shit.
But here's the thing,
What
Jeremy.
if they don't, what if the reason they're not going to the shows, what if the reason they're not putting up that sponsorship is because, quite simply, all they want to do is jack off to you ladies?
Let me get point of
What
view
if
from
that's
my
the
man
only
K.
reason?
Let me get point of view from my man KL. He wants to say something. Go ahead.
So this is what like some of the comments they were saying. This was George's topic. Could the focusing on women bodybuilders with sex appeal save the division? So here's one comment. Is that what the men's bodybuilding division does? That makes it so popular? Then I think George responded, okay, and no thanks. It'll be well, it said, hold on. My bad. I'm sorry. And why can't they? I missed something. So only men can get recognition for actual skill. Women have to use sex. Just help me understand. And so George replies, and then she says another one. So let's change it. Female UFC fights are popular among men and women, and those girls are scoring sponsors and fans. Some emphasize their sexiness, but most do not. If sexiness was going to make women's sports more popular, it would have happened already. Maybe we stop trying to appeal to male fans only and focus on getting female fans too. These days, women actually run a lot of companies too. So this was this other ones. This one was it wasn't Anastasia that I had that back and forth with. It was this girl. Her name was Mules. Well anyway, she was like
Julie, I know you talking
Julia
about Julie.
yeah.
Wetzel. Julia Wetzel.
Julie Wetzel.
Yeah,
Julie Wetzel.
Julia Wetzel. I had a back and forth with her. I got it. Hold on. And then she says, "Yeah, OnlyFans is the answer. I'm well spoken and written. However, I do not enjoy math or something like that." I lost the thing with the conversation, but yeah, these were some of the examples. They had an issue with it, so
I can understand, though. I mean, I can understand their point of view. I mean, you want to be recognized because of the hard work you've done, not because you're necessarily pretty. I mean,
Well, and here's-
that's.
and-
I mean, one of the problems that you run into is that if we start if we start applying beauty as a judging criteria, what exactly is beauty? You pull 10 people off the street, 5 men, 5 women, ask them what beauty is. Not only will the women disagree with the men and the women will disagree with each other
Yeah.
as to what exactly constitutes beauty. So one of the big problems is that you're saying, well, someone who looks attractive to Andrea, she's attractive to you. What if 99% of the world thinks she's hideous
Yeah.
because of her
I
muscularity?
hate him. I hate him.
I mean,
I'm like Doc Holliday.
well,
They're Daisy to do it, Daisy if they don't, but I ain't no Daisy.
And
Right,
here's the problem I have, Jeremy, and this just happened today. Tina calls me. She's like, "I need you to reply to this guy." And you guys, I mean, and it seems like a lot of people follow this Fitness Women 1000.
Oh yeah.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
He sends a picture today, jerking off,
Yep.
a video,
Yep.
until he comes, and I'm like, but all you women are following him. Not saying you have, but all these women are following him. Even our coach, Melanie's. I said, why are you guys off? I reported him to Instagram. I'm watching this video. I'm like, are you fucking serious?
There's nothing attractive about sending me a picture like that or video.
I'm like,
That's why
it does nothing for me. I don't.
always say this because I remember a couple ladies told me, said, George, they sent me this link of this guy. I said, George, we send these ladies because this guy's out here. He sent his pictures and sent his. I said, that's why I started the thing where after doing the interview, I said, like, guys, no dick pics. Don't send that shit. We don't like that. That's disgusting. That's gross. I have because I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do like that. I mean, unless you ask me
And
to
then
do
he
it.
says, if you're in the Boston area, let me know. I'm like, who finds that attractive? I mean, like
Nobody.
What woman finds that like you're sending me, you're jerking? What? You don't know? You don't even know me. I've seen this, and I've seen him. I said, look, you disgusting fuck. For one,
Yeah.
if you send my wife a fucking another picture like that, and we're gonna have a problem. I said, but I don't know who you are, but I'm reporting you to Instagram because that's just disgusting, and you block them.
Yeah.
Oh, I would do more than that. I'd call him out. I would post the conversation and say, this is this guy, Fitness Women 1000. This is what he did with my wife, and he decided to do this. Call his fucking ass out.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the ones.
Post it there saying, report this guy, talk about it. What in the world are you all doing? Why are you going with this guy? That's what I've seen other people do with guys who do that. They call him out. I would do that. I would call him out.
What's it, Abby?
I think he was one of the guys that asked me if I would come wrestle him. I get that all the time, so I don't know.
I think quite often, it's like that's why when guys are in the live stream to ask stupid shit, I don't post it unless it's something really funny. I say, I want to let's laugh this motherfucker. Let's laugh him a little bit. But other than that, guys, I mean, understand you like these words. I do too. But you got like me and Kay had a discussion. Like with Abby, I sent the link and she came on here. I said, if you can make it cool, appreciate it. Some ladies said they're busy. I understand that. This is about you as a competitor. You should be able to come on a discussion and talk about what your feels, your thoughts, without having fear of somebody, hey, let's say something bad about this. No, it's just as a person, I need to voice myself. I need to have let people know how I feel and share my thoughts or my opinion on how things are going. Like the OnlyFans thing. OnlyFans sponsors fighters, and some of those fighters don't work on the platform. Many of them just use it because it's a brand. It's something that puts money behind the sport. And like these promoters, they get these money from these companies, like Titan Nutrition. They were there when I was in Tampa. Victor Conte just passed away just about a couple weeks ago. Redcon, all these other exercise and nutrition companies. So how much money you're investing in these shows to promoters, and where are the money? I know it's going to production, but I remember when Jeremy said like you can do a live stream where you can get some kids from the AV class from high school or college. They can set up with them. They know that.
They can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the problem. It's like I like I said before, I don't think the IFBB and the NPC, with all the competitors that they have, think outside the box.
They don't.
You really have to have a executive producer of some sort within the IFBB walls that says, okay, this, it's like the NFL where I played in for 9 years. It's like, you have certain production, you have certain things, the Super Bowl, the playoffs, the regular season, it's the people who create the schedule, all these different things to make this machine, make it a well-ran machine all year long. And they don't have any of that. Until you do that in the 60th anniversary deal that Dan Solomon's talking about, it's great and all, but so when we see it, are they talking about the sport in a whole? Are they talking about men's bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding, figure, fitness, and all this other shit? Or what are actually they talking about? Because he was very vague on what it was going to be about. So am I gonna see a preview for it? To see, like, I remember when the first time I went to see Generation Iron, I was walking into the movie theater and somebody's like, hey, you're the guy in the movie. And I'm like, I am? And they're like, yeah, you're in the movie. I was like, sweet. So I went, I was already going in the movie. I'm like, oh, there I am. But they don't even tell us that you're going to be in the movie. They just, you're just in the movie, So it's one of those things where it's like, hey, if I knew I was going to be in the movie, I'm telling all my friends, hey, I may have a little shot in the movie, but come and check it out. But they don't even tell the actors that. So how does that work? You got Dan Solomon talking about this movie, but how many people are actually going to see Dan Solomon talking about the 60th anniversary bodybuild or Olympia deal that they're doing with Prime TV? How many people are actually going to see that announcement?
How many people have heard of the Olympia?
Just like you just said earlier.
How many people know? It's like, yeah, you can post this on Prime, but there's an old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Exactly.
It'd be
You
smarter
can
to
you
put-
can post this on every single major social media or streaming media outlet you want. Unless people, it's like you have to make it interesting. You have to get people interested to actually come and watch and actually pay to see this. How many people are going to? How many people? Just because you put it on Amazon Prime doesn't mean you're going to recoup what you spent to be able to get there.
and
It doesn't. I mean, there's no guarantee of success there. Just because you put it on a big streaming, just because you put it on a big streaming platform doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful.
No.
You probably put it on PBS and maybe get more attention for it. You know, and that's free. But the thing is, there's no payback for them if you do it on PBS because it's pretty much free television. That's why I watch a little more PBS than I do watch regular television streams. We got here a guest has popped in. Give me a second. Let me pull my man up here, and this is we have here is Josh Simpkins. He's in the building. Hey, Josh, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, you're welcome. Yeah. We have your comment here. This is from my man XAGucci23. Shout out to my brother. It says, Happy Monday, George and panel. Happy Monday to you, brother. Yeah. So that's the thing is, if you're doing all this, like remember, the two biggest documentaries that started kind of all of it was Pumping Iron 2. We talked about there was the Supersized She, Generation Iron when Keith was in. There is it's still a growing format, but you got to find people who want to invest into it. Like again, a producer, something like that. Especially somebody can be a go-to between the athletes and the higher ups. That thing is change is good, but the problem is people don't like change. You want everything to stay the same. You can never stay the same. You want a sport to evolve and grow, like we talked about how The Rock want to put his hands into it, and he really was a fan of bodybuilding because his ex-wife was involved in it. And you see celebrities. I remember when I saw some clips of Olympia. I saw Shannon Sharp was there. Little John, he was there because he's got into bodybuilding. He does natural competition stuff. It's just that if you want that change, there has to be work between the athletes and the higher ups. Everybody has to play their part.
And here's the biggest problem that I have with our sport in general, and I would like to get Abby's intake on this. It's not it's bodybuilding, I get that, but it's also a lifestyle change to be just healthier in general. So it's not about just how big can I get or how many steroids can I take. It's about a lifestyle change. It's about weight loss. It's about more energy. It's about longevity. Tell people, I said, the gym for me is the fountain of youth. I tell people you can sit on the couch and fucking die, or you can go to the gym and do something about dying. So it's more about, and that's what the IFBB doesn't promote. They don't promote just a lifestyle of being healthier. Where's that wellness aspect of this? We keep talking about, women's bodybuilding this and men's bodybuilding this, but where's the wellness and the lifestyle change of just people just being healthier?
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
I totally agree.
If you promote more of, it's like, you see I see all these things on IG right now, the military workout, you just use a chair, or you go, this one guy talked about just people going on walks and things like that. If you start promoting some of that, which, I go to the gym and there's hundreds of people in the gym, hundreds, but they're not all bodybuilders. They're people trying to lose weight, trying to be in shape, trying to recover from injuries and all this other stuff. That should be a bigger and broader spectrum for the IFBB and the NPC, because I see a lot of people go on stage who've lost a ton of weight, just want to get on stage. But you're promoting that. You're promoting just this little window of, you want to be a pro. No, and here's the thing. Now, everybody that's going to be a pro is going to make money as a pro, whether you're a master or open. That's just reality. So why not open up the spectrum of, okay, this is a wellness, it's like, as Arnold say, the fitness expo, whatever the case may be, but you kick some sports out. It's like kicking some sports out of Olympia. again, I tell people, what did the NFL do that was the smartest thing they ever did is create flag football. And flag football is not only in the Olympics now, but every kid can play it because parents were scared of their kids getting concussions. And so they're like, my kid's not getting CTE. So the NFL's like, the numbers, because I coached youth football for years with my son and my kids, and numbers are going down. Even though we had a doctor that would test kids before they went to the season and at the end of the season. So the NFL is like, shit, our numbers are going down, high school numbers are going down, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we make this? So let's create flag football. Girls can play it, boys can play it, anybody can play flag football. And now the NFL's brand has grown even bigger because they start thinking outside the box. And that's what the IFBB and the NPC doesn't do, is think outside the box. How do we make this bigger? How do we get more people involved? What are we talking about? More people getting involved into the sport. So how do we do that? Let's start talking about wellness. Let's just and I get, I'm not a fan of fit model, but I get it. It's a walk off the street, you can go onto the stage. You don't have to be as big. Seriously, you don't have to. But that's why they created it, because you have to create something that's obtainable. And for me and Abby and Tina, for us, our looks are not obtainable for most people. So the IFBB said, okay, let's create fit model, because they've gone so extreme with bikini and even wellness and even bodybuilding and all this other stuff that we have to find some common ground for the person who don't want to go extreme but just want to be in shape. And that's where the wellness aspect, even women's wellness, these chicks are ridiculously looking. They look crazy.
They are
women's wellness, but what is really women's wellness? I'm seeing these chicks with these giant legs, these big ass shoulders, unbelievable shape. I'm not taking nothing away from them, but define wellness.
Well, here's the problem, Keith. Every single one of the women's divisions that was created with that exact mentality in mind. That they're wanting to create an alternative to bodybuilding, something more attainable, something that people would want to be able to deal with. Even female bodybuilding itself, you look back in the 80s, far and away more attainable look than it is today. But you got to bear in mind, fitness was created with that. Figure was created with that. Physique was created with that. All these other female divisions, they were all created with that exact same mentality in mind. They're wanting to create, but now look what's happened. Every one of them that was supposed to be more attainable is now not obtainable because they've let it slip. And that's why we have yet another one with Fit Model.
That's why you get the Linda Murrays and Alina Popas and the women, and like when I was talking about the guys on the aspect of, you get some, and I'm not, and sorry to exclude figures, that you get the Nicole Wilkin-Lees and the Alina Popas and the other women, other side of the 90s and the 80s era, who also compete and bring all these guys and girls in and go, if you had an idea of what the sport should look like and be like now, I guarantee you none of them would agree with what's going on right now.
What
the hell?
What the heck?
I have no idea.
But think about it.
Something, because
if you think about it, if you put Alina, some of the best, some of the best bodybuilders, men and women, figure in bikini, even in a room, and brought them all together and says, hey, if you guys looking at the sport where it is now, what would you think, and what do you really want the sport to look like? It wouldn't look like this. I can tell you that right now. And I understand bodies change and everything evolutionizing, but it wouldn't look nothing like this right now.
Yeah, that's a good example.
Giselle.
The girls in figure now are just as big as the women in women's bodybuilding. They're even bigger than the women from the 80s and 90s.
Really?
Look at Giselle right there, man. Come on, that like a physique competitor almost.
Exactly.
But therein lies my point. All these other divisions were created, Keith, with exactly what you're saying in mind.
Yep.
That they're wanting to create something more attainable. And what did they let happen with every single one of these divisions? They've let it slip. And that's the whole reason why they have to keep coming out with new division after new division after new division. Because they keep letting it slide.
Well, I want to get the feedback from the lady. The lady, if Abby can, I think I saw her. She
Abby,
might be
I
in the car
cannot
driving
see
to it.
you at all.
Abby.
Yes.
All I
Don't
see is
mind.
all I see is a black screen.
It's because I'm in the car.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. She's crying in the car, but that's what we want to get from the lady. What her thoughts? Because she just turned pro at the Universe, and what was that experience
Damn
like?
it. No
'Cause
more. Once it dies, sorry.
that's all right. You're paying daddy. But Abby, what's your thoughts?
I definitely agree they should be promoting the whole sport, not just being on stage, but the whole sport, with diet. I mean, weight loss starts in the kitchen. You know, we all stick to a strict diet, but they can promote eating and food and lifting, and it's not just about being on stage. It's the whole thing. That's what bodybuilding is. It's what you're eating, how much you're sleeping, how much you're going to the bathroom. I mean, all of that is a part of bodybuilding. It's not just being on stage.
Mhm. The thing is, I think that's the thing is that they have to realize that, like back in the day, you used to see bodybuilders on like fitness shows, and they were hosting and training and working out. There's a video I've seen showed before on here, a video of Arnold working out with Richard McLeish. You have people like Kiana Tom and Monica Britt working out together.
Yep.
You had Corey Eveson working out with Galad. Remember, working out with
Mhm.
Galad. Used to slow motion in the beach on Hawaii. Stuff like that, and that did help out bodybuilding a bit. But again, it's up to the athletes if they want to make the changes. And if you like, again, like this, when like Keith, you remember what that long ago baseball had a strike, NBA had a strike. Other sports have said, you know what, as the athletes, we're the people that everybody comes to see. We should demand more for ourselves than anything. But again, it goes also put in another situation, the organization UFC, where it was a fighter she wanted to push Ewing, but somebody she told somebody about it. That's one thing. When you do something like that, you never tell anybody. Keep it on the low. You do it on the side. But then somebody rat her out. Then her last fight, where the opponent couldn't fight because she was overweight. She was over the weight limit. And then they paid her out and cut a contract. And if you're not willing to, okay, you are in a sport where you're going to get knocked around, hit in the head, but then you just making pennies. You can't even find a real job because you have to train, you have to work. I know some ladies who told me that it's hard to get a real job because they have to find ways to make their income. That's why some ladies do the OnlyFans, or I call them the Beat Meat websites, because that's the alternative for them. But some who do have that, where they have, okay, I got a gig where I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, I got this, I got that. But then why not demand for more for yourself? And I know a lot. I said again, a lot of them are. No offense to you, Abby, to my and Keith. A lot of you are a bunch of yellow belly, egg sucking dogs. You don't have the courage to step up. You're afraid you're going to get hurt, or somebody going to say something. You're going to get blacklisted. But why me, a guy who's not nobody, not a bodybuilder? Like I got boobs, I'm a muscle person, like buff chicks. Why am I talking about this? Why not y'all getting together? Why not sitting down and saying, what we've been you say send it like a thing to a proclamation to Jim Mannion. Say, hey Jim, we've been competing in this sport for years. We've been paying our dues, making money for you in NBC and IVB. Why not do this thing for us? No one comes to go to Olympia to come see you or come see Jake. Jake. I'm a fan of Jake, but some things he's kind of backpedaling on now.
Yeah, but
Why
you know how long they've been talking about having a union in bodybuilding? How
years? I
many
know.
times how many times people I remember trying to remember what was the press conference? It was Kevin LeBron. I don't think Lee Priest was there, but I'm trying to think of whoever it was. They were talking about that very issue. And this was like I think 30 years ago.
Mm.
King Kamali was there. I'm trying to remember all the other guys that were there, but that's what they were talking about. And they've been talking about Lee Priest has been talking about a union in bodybuilding now, I think for decades. But
But
nothing has come about. But even in that meeting, they talked about they're afraid. They're afraid to do so because it's exactly what Keith said earlier. These people have all the power. They
here's
do.
Jeremy,
They're
and you're
afraid of
right.
getting blackballed.
And Jeremy, you're right, because I trained with Flex before I turned pro, and the only reason why Flex did not become Mr. Olympia and Ronnie became Mr. Olympia because Flex left Leader. He told me that. He's my trainer. He's my big brother. He's like, there's political, Charles Glass says, do you know how many checks are, I asked him, I said, do you know how many checks are passed back and forth between, the higher ups and sponsors and this, that, and the other for to put their person in the right place. And I experienced it 3 times as 3-time runner up at USA's and Nationals. So I get it, but again, your athletes are so afraid, and this is facts. And somebody even told Tina at one point in time, they're like, the reason why he hadn't turned pro yet, because, I had said something and I didn't. I think the one year I placed second at Nationals in Atlanta, and I was standing in the middle the whole entire time, and there's a video saying why they keep fucking with him. And because my sponsor got a hold of a video that Dave Palumbo posted that he wasn't supposed to play, and I was under contract with Muscular Development. And when I got back to California, I was told, and this is facts, that because of what had happened between Dave Palumbo and Muscular Development, that's why I came in second. So I was pissed off. I threw my trophy. Jim Mannion made me and 4 other guys go back on stage and take the picture, but I didn't want to. But again, it's like you can't. You have to tippy-toe around because they're in charge. They're in power. We're not in power. It's like when I mentioned NFL, and I get it, the MLB, because these are teams. These are players that are all sticking together. In bodybuilding, it's an individual sport. So you got to get Abby, you got to get me, you got to get Andrea, you got to get this person, you got to get that person for us all to come together like the Declaration of Independence and all write our names on the fucking thing at the exact same time for it to work. And that's not how that's never going to be.
Avengers assemble.
Huh?
I said Avengers assemble.
Exactly, right? But it's never going to be that way. It's never going to be that way where we're all, or hey, like, think about if we really, I don't even know how many IFBB pros there are in the world today, former and current. It's a lot to get them all together. Let's say 60%, because 60% is a lot of value to go and sit there and say, we're not going to stand for this anymore. But a lot of people are not going to do that because they're reliant on this, and I don't even know why, because it's 60%. I think what did Kai tell me what the percentage is of the actually IFBB pros that are actually making money in the sport is less than 5%. Mm-hmm. And that's terrible. Less than 5% of us as IFBB pros are making money in the sport. So Kai Green said to me when we did a CT Fletcher's event, and it's on our YouTube with me, CT Fletcher, and Kai, is like, use the sport for what you can get out of the sport, not what the sport can get out of you, because at the end of the day, they don't give 2 fucks about us.
Yeah. Well, one thing we'll finish off is about coaches. How I've heard stories about how coaches can be abusive, how coaches are having relationships sexually with their clients. Just saw recently one lady who was with another coach just switch, and that's the thing is I was talking to one young lady. She's going to compete at nationals, and I saw this posted from Sheila Brown that they have a show is in Texas. It's a regional show, and the overall winner gets their interest fee to nationals paid. I sent it to her. She's a young upcomer. She had a great physique. And she said, well, I went through the show, but my coach said, let's just do the natural. Here's things. Should the coach have so much control over your life where, I see opportunity. Why not take it?
So are you saying should the coach defy what show that you choose to do?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think you should have a choice. I mean, would I listen to my coach? Absolutely, because I do trust him and I feel like he knows what he's talking about. But he's never going to tell me I can't do a show or I can't do this or anything like that. But there are shitty coaches out there. There's coaches that, are pushing way too much gear and, just ruining somebody's body. And that's a shitty coach in my eyes. If you don't know your client and you just think that you're going to push gear enough to give them the physique that they need on stage, well, you're just killing them. That's not what the sport is. You're killing them is what you're doing, ideally.
And Abby's absolutely right. More is not better. I went into 2 shows in 1 year with with Kai Green's trainer and former trainer back in the day, who every 2 weeks he'd come stay at my house in Minnesota, and he would stand on the stair climber, control my cardio, everything every PD I took, he was in control of. Everything I put in my mouth, he was in control of, and I placed the worst I ever placed. At that time, and I love the guy, but at that time it was a bit, for us, for me and Abby, this is a business. So I can't take shit personal. And my trainer, who's no longer with me, who turned me pro, was like, I need you to go back and look at the pictures because your estrogen levels are crazy, this, that, and the other. And I was supposed to walk in the show, win it, no problem. Always the bride. I think the topic was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I'm like, what the fuck? It was on bodybuilding.com. And I was supposed to win. And I came in third, I think third or fourth. Max Charles beat me at that show. And I looked at this trainer at the end of it. I said, look, I've done it your way. It didn't work. I need to move on. And I've done that with several coaches because it just wasn't in my best interest. Because at the end of the day, I'm shelling out this money for you. I'm shelling out this money for me to compete. And the result, and I'm doing everything that you told me to do. So if it's not working, it's time for me to move on. And that's just what I did, But being I don't know about Abby's situation, but being a competitor and being being 3-time runner-up and being gaslighted, as we call it these days, by people, I don't do that to other people. I pick shows for them to do, and if they're not ready, they're not ready. I know I have one trainer had me actually call Jim Mannion, and this was when Cedric was alive, and everybody wanted me to do nationals, and I called Jim Mannion. And this is the first time I can say Jim Mannion actually gave a shit. Because he's like, go get your blood work done and send it to me and we'll talk. And he told me that I shouldn't do nationals because Cedric is going to beat me. And I didn't do it. And that was the first time me and Jim had a transparent conversation. And he's like, I don't think you should do the show. So me and my trainer decided for me not to do the show. So, again, you got good coaches and you got bad coaches out there, but you also got to know. And I don't know if we're talking about amateurs or professionals, but you got to know your body. And at the time, I was just getting into this sport. Don't know half the things I know now. But it all depends who the person is. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for yourself and your body as far as picking and choosing the show and let your coach have some control over that. But again, at the end of the day, when you go on stage, your coach has no control of what's going on. The only people who have control is those goddamn judges sitting in front of you.
Yeah,
I gotta head out, guys. I just wanted to say, great conversation. Wishing everybody the best. So,
all right,
Abby,
Jeremy.
good to see you. Keith, good to see you.
Thank you.
George, good to see everybody. So, have a good.
Yeah, thanks. Shout out to my man Jeremy of Female Muscle. You want to check out his site? We need to get back and do interviews again. I call him. He's my hand of the.
He's knowledgeable. Yeah,
he's knowledgeable. I call him. He's the warden of the West. So
had the warden.
Yeah, but again, I think one thing also with if competitors know they have issues or situations with a coach, that's one thing needs to be informed because there are like the issue of predators in the sport. That's something that you need to protect these competitors because you have young people coming in here. You have even people who are adults being taken advantage because of their mindset, and that's the thing about why bodybuilders should sit down and form. If you're not going to form a union, form like a buddy system. Like I know competitors told me that you got a coach that starts you out, but then when you hit the big time, now you need a coach to help you out, and you got to find that right coach. You need to say, hey, let me talk to you because let me see who you're working with. Like I'm hearing stories where, like I said again, coaches that see with their clients or coaches who are not just like basically like training coaches. Where there's one coach I remember somebody told me that there was one trainer who does posing, and she would train somebody but not kind of ghost them. I'm not going to name a name because but y'all know who it is if y'all heard of it. Jeremy will agree with me. And that's the thing is that's a problem. But if you're not going to solve those problems, you're not going to keep complaining about them, then what you expect? We're going to pay for. You gotta quote the great Morgan Freeman. You gotta quit dying and you gotta quit dying and keep on living. How you said it from the Green Mile? Not Green Mile. It was Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, how you said it. I used to know that pretty well. So my guess, I'm not gonna hold y'all up. I know what are your plans? Thanksgiving's coming around the corner. I'm going to be out of town. My niece, she lives in Georgia, Me and my sister, she came this weekend. I might be out of town that next Thursday. We're gonna be leaving. I mean, I'm hitting the road, folks. Get on the road out there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, but anyway, I appreciate the time y'all give me here and your feedback about this. I would love to have more people on here, but the fact is, again, y'all can't be a bunch of yellow belly egg sucking dogs. You gotta have some courage. You gotta get your here. Abby doesn't have them, but you gotta put your balls on. Let your left swing.
And we always got to give a shout out to Abby because the females that come on this show, actually the goal to come on the show, we got to give them mad respect because at the end of the day, your voice is the only reason why we're on this show.
Shout out to Abby.
And again, here's the thing I told, I say this to these women athletes all the time. If you're not willing to step up and speak up and just give your constructive criticism about which way, and even as me as open and a master pro men's bodybuilder and open to constructive criticism to make the sport better, what are we here for? We're just Are you just going to be a pawn in the game and just move with the herd? Or are you going to sit here and be like, okay, and again, we're two voices, and there's so many more voices out there that need to be heard. But again, there's two voices out of, I don't know, hundreds and thousands, millions of competitors are out there that also got to voice their opinion in order for change to happen.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm a fan of the sport, but again, I gotta say it may not be the 80s, but I'm down with the ladies. I got it. Yeah. So anyway, I'd like to thank my guests that came here. Shout out to my nephew Alex. Shout out to KL who was here. Shout out to man.
I just want to show you guys where I am.
Where
Sorry
you
if
at,
I've been
brother?
quiet. I think I'll turn my camera.
Show you where you at. Wow.
Oh, okay. Look at that. Wow.
You guys are probably going to laugh at me because here I am.
That's beautiful.
Look at that offense. Look at you.
I knew it. You guys were going to laugh at me.
You said don't laugh. Then we know you shouldn't have. We were going to laugh anyway, no matter you said it or not.
It's a long story. I do this every year. I go to Jollywood. I just fill out characters for a car for a friend. It's always been like this every year.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
You look real pretty. Yeah. I want to say this, Alex. Go ahead.
It's an expensive car to get in. And don't worry about me. I'm wearing a fan vest under this coat. At least I can prepare.
He's a good kid. He's a good kid. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. You're a good boy, Alex. You're a good boy. But again, folks, shout out to my guests that took the time out to share their thoughts and their opinions on this. The season is about to wind down. I'm going to run out of topics a bit. If anybody has something you want to discuss or you want to do an interview or whatever, shoot out to me. I'd love to get y'all feedback. Shout out my big brother. Again, get your hands off my girl. And Abby, I know you're supposed to be seeing our girl this weekend, aren't you?
And just
I love her. I still have my magazine, and I love it like a bunny rabbit.
Maybe I'll get her to video chat. Maybe me, Ashley, and her can do that. Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'd probably act like Oprah Winfrey from Color We Saw on TV in Australia. I knew there's a God. I knew there's a God. So, folks, I thank you again. Please, if you feel like you have something you want to talk about, if you feel like it's something in the sport or something about yourself, be open. Don't be afraid. I would say it's a safe place. And also, don't let other people's opinions, their thoughts, whatever they feel, block you from, hey, you know what? I feel like there's something wrong and I want to say it. Because you don't, a mama said a closed mouth doesn't get fed. You're not going to get nothing you don't work for or fight for it. This is not my sport. I'm a fan. I'm Muscle Pro. I love buff chicks. But it's up to you if you want to fight for it or not.
If you're watching this and you're a guy, please do not message me and ask me if I want to wrestle because I do not want to wrestle, okay?
You sure you want to wrestle?
I don't want to wrestle. I'm good.
Y'all heard it here first. She doesn't want to wrestle.
We can arm wrestle. Or real quick. Or some guys like we can do a little boxing, but I'll be like if me and Abby, I'll be doing a lot of sensitive holding, digging in her chest with my head.
I don't know what's up with the asking me if I want to wrestle. I don't know where I don't even understand the joke.
It's like
Some people have no manners.
It's like being almost intimate. You ever see BJJ and Jiu-Jitsu? It's almost being intimate in a way for some of these guys. But but no guys, don't ask that. No deep picks, don't ask for wrestles. Don't even ask for flexes. If they do it voluntarily, it's nice, but don't ask. Let them want to do it. Let them want, but if they don't want to do it, that's just back off. Back off. So for me, to you, everybody out there, I appreciate your time. Shout out to my guests that were here. Appreciate them for their time. It's your man, Richard Pitch, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk. Don't like, subscribe, good life, good luck, and God bless.
Have a good one.
Guys.
Bye.